53, Senate Bill 756.
The senator from Eastern Fairfax.
Move we adopt the Conference Committee report and speak of that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is the bill about the entertainment complex in Northern Virginia. We made some changes to our bill, or the senator from Charlottesville proposed some changes to the bill to broaden the area in the county that it could happen, in hopes that the county would look more favorably upon it. That didn't happen. So the bill that's in front of you reverts to the language as introduced, which is a 1.5 million square foot mixed-use complex in a certain area near the Silver Line and Tyson's Corner. The bill basically expands the bill. If you look at the enactment clause, that's really where the meat of the bill is. It basically creates a two-phase structure. First, the MEI Approval Commission can authorize a temporary gaming establishment with up to 150,000 square foot gaming floor, with the revenue of that going directly to the school of the locality, the local piece of the revenue going to the school of the locality where it's located. Secondly, once it's operating, the county needs to select a permanent preferred operator, obtain General Assembly approval, and pass a local referendum before a permanent license can be issued by the Lottery Board consistent with the existing system. If that happens and the locality approves it, then a different revenue formula kicks in where the money is split 50-50 between the state and the locality, with that money, again, the local money going solely to the school system for that locality. The bill also makes some conforming changes of city to locality throughout the bill, but basically it's designed to incentivize the locality to cooperate and work on coming up with a proposal in this process because of the revenue split. That's what the bill does. Happy to answer any questions. It does not affect any other localities other than Fairfax County. That's what it does.
The senator from Northern Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I would urge my colleagues to vote against this. This is vastly different than what went through the committee process, giving MEI now the ability to just put a casino temporarily in the middle of Tyson's Corner, which is the economic engine of not only Fairfax County, but the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. I can let you know this is extraordinarily unpopular. Over the past week, I've got nearly 800 messages from my constituents. My county supervisors have their hair on fire because this casino was on the agenda to say, no, the county doesn't want it. And when we in 2020 created the opportunity for a gaming facility in the Commonwealth, the agreement was, one, it would be an economically depressed area. That does not hold true to Fairfax County. Secondly, the locality would come to the Commonwealth and request the authority. That did not happen. In fact, the locality made it clear that they do not want this the way it has been done. And thirdly, the bill that passed through here took off the requirement that it be in Tyson's Corner, which everybody voted for. So what we are doing here, just be very, very clear. If you would like one of us to bring in a piece of legislation that puts something extraordinarily unpopular in your community, this is opening the door to that. This is not the process that we have agreed upon in the Commonwealth, where we are collaboratively working to make Virginia better. We all worked hard to be in these seats, here to represent our communities. And this is something that a community that gives and gives and gives to the Commonwealth doesn't wish to have. And I could say a lot more. I think that this is coming up in, I haven't even had a chance to read this yet, and I bet nobody else in this room has read the whole thing. This is not the way we do public policy. And it's very disappointing to me. I would ask you all to vote no. This is not the way we make major policy decisions that affect a specific group in the Commonwealth. And just to make it 100% clear, the people who live in my community and the people who live in all of northern Fairfax County, the people who live in central Fairfax County, the localities have already passed ordinances. They have passed resolutions. They have sent letters in saying this is not what they want. The town of Herndon, Reston, McLean, Great Falls, Tyson's Association, the town of Vienna, the Wolf Trap Association, the HOAs and communities in this vicinity are in extraordinarily strong opposition of this. Especially, they're gonna be really upset when they see what happens if this proposal passes. And I ask you, as your colleagues, to think about what you're doing.
The senator from Arlington.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to speak in opposition to the conference report.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Let's just be clear. We, the state, through this conference report, is going to be telling Fairfax County that you must have a casino, no referendum, but at least for 5 years, we the state will say, Fairfax, forget about your land use planning, forget about developing your sector plan, forget about all the things that our state constitution directs the localities to do, all of their zoning authority, all of the things they're responsible for planning for, all that goes out the window. Simply because of some members, I hope this doesn't pass, but simply because some lawmakers believe this is a good idea. And we've had enormous local opposition to this. And to what cause? If this is about raising money for the state, there are other ways we can do this. There are ways we can do this that doesn't trample on the rights of local government. There are ways we could do this that doesn't create addictive behavior. There are ways we could do this that respect our neighborhoods, the safety of our neighborhoods, the nice ambiance that we want for all the kids and the shoppers and all the tourists that come to Northern Virginia. This is an incredibly bad idea on lots of levels, from a public policy level, from a land use level, from trampling on the rights of local governments, to saying to your localities, we don't care about your neighborhood. You don't have the right to have input on what your neighborhood looks like, on the kind of functions that are in your neighborhood, or how your whole locality is going to work with transportation, with public safety. I really do hope it is the will of the body to defeat this conference report. Thank you.
The senator from Lynchburg.
Oh my goodness, Madam President, I rise to speak to this bill.
Senator has the floor.
I had not planned to speak, but then when I heard the senator from Northern Fairfax and the other senator from Fairfax talk about Arlington, what this body is about to do to them that their residents don't want, after what y'all have done to our 5 congressional districts, an illegal gerrymandering of our congressional districts, taking away 4 of our congressional seats and running 5 through Fairfax. Do you think somebody in Augusta wants to be represented in Congress by somebody from Fairfax? And you have the gall to talk about us passing a bill to put a casino in Fairfax, and we've got 4 or 5 in the rest of the Commonwealth. You think your people don't want a casino? Do you think our people want to have their Second Amendment rights taken away by this legislature, this session? No, they don't. You think our schools and our cities and our counties now want to be governed by collective bargaining? No, they don't. You talk about your rights being trampled in one General Assembly. It's been this one. And if you get a casino in Fairfax, oh my goodness.
Senator from Central Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to speak on the opposing this.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Throughout the whole time this bill was on the floor, I did not speak about it. I didn't, express my opinion on it because we were told this was going to get to a voter referendum, that the voters of the county will get to choose what this looks like. Now, in the last 20 minutes, I got a lot of folks who texted me, and I thought that was because I was doing a great job this session. Turns out they also received a link with what the substitute or what the conference version is going to be, and this really just points out that there's going to be an MEI commission that will approve a temporary casino in Fairfax County that can operate up to 5 years. It then requires that same MEI approve that locality shall issue all applicable permits by rights and declares that the enactment shall supersede all other applicable provisions of the law, functionally stripping local boards and neighbors of their usual land use tools for the temporary facility. Now, I carried a lot of bills where localities were upset at me this whole session and the last 2 sessions for me trying to take away their local authority, their land use authority. This is exactly what this bill does. At the end of it, this bill, all it does is it just does not do what the original intent was to provide the localities with a referendum so that the people could choose what they wanted. Now, what ended up happening between what went out of this body to what is right now is that localities realized this is not a great idea. There was a survey that was done. More than 70% of localities did not want this. My constituents did not want this. And turns out the way this is written with the details of where this has to be puts the specific casino in a location near 2 miles away from a church, 2 miles away from a mosque, 2 miles away from a synagogue, you name it, from neighborhoods that I've seen where it's a family-friendly neighborhood. For those reasons and so many other things, I simply had to say something today around this because this is not what I thought we were going to have on the floor. And mind you, I was already voting against any type of referendum around this, but chose not to speak in the past. So I ask my colleagues around here, when you're talking about an MEI commission, that's the same thing we could use to put other things across the whole Commonwealth, where it doesn't have to go through the voters, where it doesn't have to go through a referendum. This is just something that I have not thought about in the past either. So I ask that you all vote against this. And with that, Madam President, I renew, that hopefully folks vote against this.
The senator from Isle of Wight.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the conference report.
The senator has the floor.
I did not plan on speaking on this, but I'm going to talk about a little history of the Commonwealth for a moment, a little bit before I was ever in this body. Hampton Roads didn't have a transportation lockbox on our transportation fund until 2013, okay? Before that, the roads paved to gold on the way up to 95 to Northern Virginia are looking just fine. We're still catching up, and we're probably 25 to 30 years behind Hampton Roads. I looked online. There are 18 schools currently under construction in Fairfax County. Meanwhile, Churchill Elementary School, built in 1958 in Portsmouth. My schools in Isle of Wight, Suffolk, Franklin, and beyond, all the way up to Brunswick. We have schools that are built in the 30s and the 40s. There weren't temporaries in this bill, first of all. Second of all, school infrastructure funds is one of the #1 reasons I'm supporting this, because there are parts of this Commonwealth that you all can't imagine the state of our schools and the state of our roads. So with the word temporary, there will still be an opportunity to send this to the voters. So while you have hallways and schools that are under construction, we're still hoping we are able to build schools in other parts of the state. So let's not forget that. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax.
No one else desires to speak. Speaking of the bill.
Senator, you have the floor. Wait, there's someone who does want to speak now, Senator. Senator from Western Fairfax.
Sorry, Madam President. Thank you. I rise to ask the patron of the bill some questions.
Will the senator yield?
I'll yield.
Senator from Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to ask the patron if he can tell us what exactly will be the role of local government while this temporary casino location, etc., is opened. What their role is in that process.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax.
Well, first of all, the way the land use is currently set at that area of Tyson's Corner, this would be a by right use already. The only thing that is not allowed under current law is a gaming establishment, which is what this enactment clause takes care of. After that, the county would have to issue permits. Once that's done, they'd have to put out an RFP to try to determine a preferred licensee for a permanent license. They'd then have to negotiate what that permanent gaming establishment would look like, consistent with the law, which requires a 1.5 million square foot mixed-use facility containing not just a gaming establishment, but a conference center, which we don't have in Fairfax County, which is larger than 8 states. It would also have to include an entertainment venue, hotels, other things. The details of all that would have to be worked out and proposed. Those matters would then have to be figured out by local ordinance, a referendum authorized. And once all that stuff is done and localities figured out their preferred vendor, the location, all those details, then it would come back here for us to vote again. Then it would go on the ballot for the voters to approve for a permanent license, which, if approved, would be issued by the lottery board.
Senator from Western Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Madam President, I have to say, I think this is probably, for me, one of probably the hardest decisions and votes that I have taken or will be taking on this Senate floor. And there have been many. We deal with many consequential issues. Frankly, I don't like the by right building in many different areas. I didn't like it with the many housing bills that we have discussed. Some have passed. People have voted for by right because, you know, there are folks who feel very passionately about casinos, and then there are folks who feel very passionately about high rises too close to the neighborhood that they have chosen to invest their money and raise their families in. And I think those are valid concerns. I have consistently supported a referendum. I think it's important. I think constituent voices are important. But at the moment, I also feel stuck between a rock and a hard place. I ran for this office on the idea and goal of raising and bringing back as much money for our public schools and the many needs that they have. I have worked to realize those goals my entire adult life, and right now I am looking at this compromise which says there is a temporary casino to be built by right in a location that can already house a business by right. And if you vote against it, you will be voting against millions upon millions of dollars for our school systems. A school system that has 35% children who are at the free or reduced lunch. and many, many, many more who struggle, many classrooms who need resources. Construction is a need not only in Fairfax County, but as we heard, across the Commonwealth. Our teachers cannot afford to live in our locality and drive over an hour plus a day to come teach our children. I cannot look at those things and just lightly say, there's no referendum, so I have to vote against this. I don't love where we are right now. But I also know that a vote against this will be a vote against what the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors has been begging this General Assembly for, which is to meet our school funding requirements and the needs that they have in our schools. Sometimes they have done it nicely, sometimes they have done it quite obtusely, and I would say not very successfully. However, this is exactly what they have asked for. This is going to fund our public schools, directly fund our public schools in Northern Virginia. It's going to pay our teachers so that they're able to live in the communities in which they teach. It's going to provide good paying jobs for people who cannot find them elsewhere, our working families. And at the end of the day, I cannot in good conscience vote against a temporary business that will provide so much to the community and to the children of our community. So I urge my colleagues to support the bill today. Thank you.
The senator from Eastern Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the report.
Senator has the floor.
If no one else desires to speak. Thank you, Madam President. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, let me, a couple things here. First of all, I was born and raised in Fairfax County. My grandparents moved to Fairfax in 1936 when it had about 30 or 35,000 people who lived there. Think about that for a second. My grandparents moved to live in a farmhouse on a dirt road in Fairfax County. My father was born and raised in Fairfax County. I went to the same preschool he did. My kids went to the same preschool I did. That's how long me and my family have been connected with that county. And so for anyone to suggest that that I don't care about my county, that I'm not looking out for my county, that I don't care about what's in the best interest of my county, I would like them to find somebody else who's in any way leading the county, is more connected to it than I am in longevity. I've lived in the county 54 years. I've been on this rock. I've lived in that county for 51 years. In terms of the location, I want you all to remember that last year we voted on this same location. The same location language in here, we voted in this chamber and we approved. The only people that didn't vote for it are the senators who are new this year. That's the same language. Number two, just so I'm clear, a gaming establishment like this is a by right use under the county's current zoning ordinance. Not because of this bill. You could do a project like this under the county's current zoning ordinance in all of Tyson's Corner by right because of the way the land is currently zoned. The only thing you can't do is operate a casino because that has a separate state approval process that's required. That's what the bill takes care of. Number three, let's talk about telling local governments what to do. Do we ever tell local governments what to do? Last time I checked, we tell them what to do all the time. We tell them they have to, run a school. We tell them they actually have to have a comprehensive plan. That's a mandate. We tell them they have to do social services. We tell them they have to have a jail. We tell them they have to have constitutional officers in some cases. They have to run a health system. We tell them they have to do audits. They have to run elections. They have to do emergency management. We tell them they have to have a solid waste program, erosion and settlement control. And I could go on and on and on and on and on with what we tell local governments what to do. telling local governments what to do is nothing new about that. We are a Dillon Rule state. They can't breathe unless we tell them to. Now, Madam President, I also want to remind everybody, Fairfax County is a big place. It's bigger than 8 states in the United States of America. 1.1 million people.
Mr. Chair, Madam President,
Senator from Northern Fairfax.
question for the patron.
Sure.
Senator, will you yield?
Happy to yield.
Senator from Northern Fairfax.
Madam President, I would like to ask the patron of the bill how long it takes him to get from his house at the very southernmost portion of Fairfax County to Tyson's Corner if he is driving and there's no traffic versus when there is traffic. How long does it take you to get, since it is the size of 8 states, just to clarify how far away the senator from Eastern Fairfax lives from this region?
Senator from Eastern Fairfax.
Madam President, I would say that it takes me about 25 minutes in my car without traffic, and if it's during rush hour and I want to pay about $56 round trip in tolls, I can probably knock it out in about 35 minutes. If I want to get there by transit from my house, it probably takes me about 2.5 hours round trip. And I would also note that if I wanted to, I could actually run to the MGM casino by foot. And at the current pace that I run, I can make it in about 40 minutes.
Senator has the floor to continue with his
Thank you, Madam
comments.
President. So, as I was saying, I also want to remind everybody that Fairfax is a big place, larger than 8 states today, unlike when my grandparents moved there. Fairfax County has 7 state senators. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe 4 of the 7, yeah, we had a lot of congressmen too. 4 of the 7 senators who represent the county, I believe, are about to vote for this bill. Okay? Because it's a big place. Now, I want to also talk about how Fairfax County is doing economically. I just saw, first, and before I say that, I just also want to note that while in Virginia we have put these kinds of establishments in several cities, Portsmouth, Norfolk, Danville, Petersburg, in 3 have just been authorized in New York City. And the state, by the way, up there did it without a referendum. They're requiring $100 million licenses for each one. Okay? So the rest of the country is taking a little bit different tack on this. But I would just note, in terms of how Fairfax is doing, on February 27th, the Cardinal, Dwayne Yancey, wrote an article. Headline says, new population estimates. 30 times more people have moved out of Fairfax County than all of rural Virginia. That's the headline. That's the headline. And if you go down, it talks about how Fairfax County right now has not lost population since the 1820s. But between 2020 and 2025, 38,495 more people moved out of the county than moved in. And the only reason the county had statistical population growth is because births outnumbered deaths. So people are moving out. You also heard my colleague from Western Fairfax talk a moment ago about poverty in the county. Fairfax County is big and parts of it are different. The part I represent is very different than the parts that other senators represent. The US 1 corridor that I represent along the I-95 corridor is very different than the rest of the county. Fairfax County has on average between 60 and 64,000 children receiving free and reduced lunch. If that was its own school system by itself, it would be the 4th largest school system in all this state. Only one's larger is Loudoun, Prince William, and Virginia Beach. But the number of children who live in poverty in the county is significant. And so, county folks, I can get into office vacancies. We're going to have a big debate about office vacancy statistics and how Tyson's is doing, et cetera. The office vacancy rate is higher than it is the national average because of what's going on federally. The county needs these revenue sources. They've been asking for it. I would ask that we give them what they've been asking for the last 30 years. Give them an additional revenue source, and if they don't like it, the voters vote it down, and this thing goes away in 5 years. I would ask that you vote for the bill.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report for Senate Bill 756? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 16.
Ayes 22, no 16. The Senate adopts the conference committee report.